You are now listening to Sir Inq's The Experience Podcast, where we talk about anything and everything kink. Now, this podcast is only catered to those that are 18 and above and may not be suitable for work, or as we like to say, NSF. But remember, you can always listen to us during your private time. Hello, kinky and kink-curious folk out there. My name is Sir Inq. Hello. Let's jump right into our topic like we always do. And let me start it off by saying Happy New Year 2026. And this podcast is about New Year's resolutions. Do you believe in them? Don't you believe in them? Where are you at with that? And so, me personally, I'm not really about resolutions. My things are a continuation of what my overall goal is in life. But I will say how a famous rapper named Fabulous said it best. He said, my plan A is to make my plan B work. So that's more where I'm at. But with that being said, let's talk about some resolutions. And let's talk about sexual resolutions. Okay, let's talk about sexual resolutions. What are things that you wish to evolve into, involve yourself into? And I guess I'll talk about me first. I'll talk about me, and then you can answer these questions to yourself. One of my journeys of 2025 was into more bondage and rope play. And that's been really wonderful. And a lot of times we're wondering and seeking what's next. And you can see some of these elaborate ties and think, oh man, I don't really have it in me to do that, to learn that. And once you learn different knots and different ways to tie, all this stuff is really easy and you can create your own designs. But with that being said, what I could not see was how intimate rope can be and how adding rope and bondage into my sessions, into my play dates, into my sexual repertoire, did I realize how really great it is and how it allows for a greater intimacy. It allows for a greater control, a greater dominance over someone, especially when they're willing to play and put themselves at your mercy like that. It is a thing that I found many to be maybe a little scared, and I don't really want to say scared, maybe a little intimidated by, right? But if they feel comfortable with you, a novice is more inclined to play with you if they trust you. And a lot of that journey is that the beginning of it is that fear of what's going to happen, right? And you, the tire, know where you're going. But a novice doesn't, right? And then there's a lot of rules that go into this. As you're the dominant figure doing the bondage, as you're wrapping the rope around the body, a lot of times novices want to help you keep the line straight. They want to touch it to make sure it's tight enough or it's too tight. And you have to be in command at all times. And that was something that I didn't realize, right? Because I'm trying to learn it. My journey of learning bondage was, okay, I'm trying to get the pattern down, trying to understand which way to go, how to do the knot. And the whole time, my sub is adjusting the ropes and adjusting the harness and adjusting this. And I'm not really paying attention because I want to get it right. So after getting it right a few times and then like getting it right for myself that I know how to do it, now that she's starting to touch the rope, I'm starting to feel a certain kind of way. Now I'm like, yo, leave the rope alone. I got that. Like, I got it. I'm in control here. I got it. You just sit back and get tied up. You know what I'm saying? Like, sit back and get tied up. And I know she just wanted to be helpful. She didn't mean nothing by it. She wasn't trying to take control, top from the bottom. She wasn't trying to do none of that craziness. But now, with me telling her to fall back, me telling her to chill, don't touch the rope, now that puts her in a greater just receiving mood. Like she doesn't have to think about anything. She don't have to do anything. And that is the premise of domination and submission. It is to totally relieve the submissive of those kind of small duties because they want to do it all. They're super women. Women can think about a lot of different things at one time. They can multitask with greater efficiency than we can. And so it's nothing for them. But then you have to kill that. You have to hit the kill switch with them. And part of, the lifestyle is that. That's why before we even get into anything, when she comes in, she must kneel, give her a submission statement, make a intention and light a candle. This is to put her in the mindset of the world you just left with your family and your job and your this and your that and your friends and that. Now, this is what we call being in sub zone and being in that zone with Sir. And Sir is the initiator of this zone. You have no choice but to be in this zone. In this zone, you're just to be. And then you're to be whatever I want you to be within your within your capabilities, within your limitations. You understand? Everybody has something that a boundary that they don't want to cross and da da da. So I'm saying, this person, all that. So you have all this under control. Okay? Now you can just come and just be you. You can completely relax. You don't have to think about anything. Everything is already thought of. All you have to do is what you're told to do. And with that being said, this is not like such a hardcore dictatorship, domineering kind of situation. Because I'm an easygoing person. So a lot of times I want to have a good time. And I will instruct her to do things when I need her to do it. But for the most time, she has the opportunity just to be feminine and chill and relax and enjoy whatever we're doing and whatever activity, whether it's walking in the park, traveling somewhere, it doesn't matter. She gets to be in submissive mode. She doesn't have to carry anything. I'm handling luggage. I'm handling, when she pulls up, I'm taking her bags out the car. All that's taken care of. Just be a girl. Be that young girl that's inside you. Let that girl come out. Be easy. Be chill. Be that teenager. Be that 20-year-old. And I don't mean behavior wise, but energy wise. The way you felt when you didn't know a lot about the world. When you could just think about goofy, corny shit. When you're not thinking about how bills are being paid, what's going to happen with the boss at the job, or if you're a boss, what you're going to do with the person the person that works underneath you. What about HR? All that clutter, that mind clutter that robs you of your quality of life. This is what a dominant restores. So now, back to 2026 resolution. And as I was telling you, my plan B is to make my plan A work. So now I'm building on the bondage going into 2026. So I can do, certain designs and harnesses and certain, wrist ties, ankle ties, hog ties, all that kind of stuff. But my next challenge is to do rigging. And I've done some light rigging, like, elevating your legs or arms and things like that with a hook and a rope. But now I want to completely suspend the subject completely from the floor and do all those crazy kind of rigging designs that people will have. And so it's very interesting. It's very interesting. And it allows for greater intimacy. It allows for trust. You have to take your time. So, if a relationship becomes routine, something like this definitely adds a lot of spice. Not necessarily spice, it just adds something more into it that allows us to put some music on or put our favorite TV show on and just sit there and play with the rope. And if I had a better setup, which I'm working on, then I could just do some rigging. That would be cool to watch a TV show and we're doing rigging and things like that. Of course, you have to be focused on rigging, but what I'm saying is while you're just doing, like when you're just doing Netflix and chill, you could be doing some play while you're doing Netflix and chill. Something small like wrist ties and things like that. Not necessarily rigging, but I want to get into rigging. That is my thing for 2026. And so part of my my sexual resolutions is just to have greater pleasure, lean into my dominance more, not be so not be so much outward, but learn how to command better without having to exert more energy, without having to exert more conversation. And so it's about learning myself. And I've done some work going into this year. Like I'm into tarot cards and things like that. So I done did some readings on 2026 and it's telling me some different things. So this year for me is about greater pleasure and consolidating my power, consolidating my voice. And so these are some of the ways that some of the things that I'm thinking of, with the bondage. And I don't know, like what other toys we might explore into. I don't, I seen at this place called Sexplorium here in Philadelphia. I saw this. I seen a couple of latex outfits that were really nice. They had like this pea green army one that was like a skirt for a woman that I really kind of liked. And then they had this nursing outfit. And I really liked the nursing outfit. White and red, but it was really cool. Like I could see us doing a nice set in that. And so that's part of it. Like, what kind of fantasies am I going to create? What kind of scenarios am I going to create that's going to allow us to have greater pleasure getting to a different character? Even to her. Nowadays, guys, let's use all the tools. Let's use ChatGPT. Hey, ChatGPT, give me a scenario for a naughty nurse and the main doctor. Something like that. And of course, ChatGPT is a little prudish, so they don't like talking about things of a sexual nature in that way. So it's all about how we word it, okay? And so you could put it in there. You can get a whole little role play thing if you want, and send it to her. Like, look, this is your role, and it doesn't have to be a line for line like you're actually making a movie or porno scene, right? It's just this is what type of time you're going to be on when the session begins. This is who your name is going to be. This is what you're going to wear. This is the connotation that I'm looking for. And in that, I'm playing the role of this person. And then you can ad lib. And that's the fun of it. Have some fun, gang. Allow a person to ad lib a little bit. Allow their personality to come out. That's why I would want to give someone else like a line for line thing to kind of go off of. I don't want it to be too boxed in. I want that person's personality and their creativity to show through the character as well. And so it's about having a greater pleasure for me and all the things that go along with that. And it's exploration, and it could be, like I said, the latex stuff, or do you want to get some toys? And so let's talk about adult toys, gentlemen, that can bring your woman some pleasure. How about the nipple suction cups? So everybody knows about nipple clamps, right? And some nipple clamps can be really aggressive. And if your woman is too sensitive or not used to it or never tried it, that might be real aggressive unless you find some that ease them into it and then you can crank the tension up. That's really cool. But you might want to think about the suction cups. They're really great. They suck the nipples up. And you can suck it up to a certain point that it gives them that feeling, that pulling, that tight pulling, but not too much that it'll hurt. And then if you let them sit for 15 plus minutes, it's going to elongate and make the nipples swell up, and it makes them more sensitive. So when you take it off, imagine just playing with them, running a pinwheel over them or licking them or sucking on them. Like, it drives them crazy. And it's just another thing that you can add in to your role play. There's another thing you can add in to spice your expand your sexual palate, is what I always like to say. And so what are you thinking about? Have you even thought about it? And this is just my sexual resolution list. And so yeah, I want to get into more rigging. I want to get into more fantasy. And of course, you want to go different places. And we've done Enthrall, which is like a kink B&B. We had a whole big spot with Olympic size pool. This place is crazy. I've talked about it on a podcast a couple years ago on my channel. And but like, where else can we go? We went to Enthrall. Went to Vegas. Had this really nice room at the Alara overlooking big window overlooking Vegas, and it was really nice. And like, I think our shot was seeing like the NGM Grand. So the NGM is like illuminated in emerald green, and so just putting her in the window and using a flogger on her, things, just having to get back to things like that, having that kind of fun, because there are times where life doesn't allow you to have that kind of fun. It's been 2025 has been kind of a year for some of us, and just for me, it was kind of like a chill year, family wise, and business was pretty much regular. It was good though, but for others in my life, it was a really high energy, high stressful year. But this year, hoping that things change and we can all get back to doing some things here and there that are very quality things, you know. And a lot of times, guys, like, you don't always have to wine and dine. You don't have to go to France and things like that. Don't get me wrong. You guys hear me talking about traveling to places and doing things. You don't always have to do that, but you can always look for some nice quality time, like go to a burlesque show. That's sexy, seeing people dance, sexy music, things like that. A burlesque show. No, just don't go to a strip club. Like, oh, we're going to go to a strip club one night. Like, that is just so American, man. Oh, my God. That is so American. And what I mean by that is, like, strip clubs used to be just for men. Now it's for men and women. And it's just a mess, man. They like made McDonald's out of everything. I can't stand it. Like, everything's McDonald's grade. Like, America for me is like one big McDonald's land. Like, Jesus Christ, the food, everything's like artificial. Why we have to commercialize everything? Like, geez, can't the boys have some things and can't the girls just have things that's exclusive to us? But I digress. Anyway, but a strip club is just par for the course, guys. I'm talking about doing something a little more intimate, a little bit more one-on-one. Maybe you can go somewhere. I remember going up New York years ago in the 90s, years and years, decades ago, in the 90s, before they changed Manhattan. You could go right downtown Manhattan to the peep shows, right around the corner from Times Square. Like, it was grimy out there, but it was so much fun. Be a carload of girls, be a carload of guys, and we ride up together, all of us friends, and we would go to the peep shows. we would go here, go there. It was fun. Like we're uptown square, having fun, kicking it. You can see the pimps and the hoes on a whole stroll. It was a great damn time, man. It was a great time. Like I said, you just go into some regular store, New York is big and these things aren't like hidden, right? So you just walk in the store and they got like peep show booths in the back, and here we got like four of us all crammed up, in the booth. I'm sitting there with three girls, we watching peep shows and watching freaky stuff. It's just, we just had great times, man. We just had great times. And I think that for me, it's about recapturing some of that, some of my 20s in that way. Not necessarily trying to relive those exact moments, but that feeling of that kind of, we don't have a whole lot of money, but we have enough money to go to New York and have a good time and party and go to the clubs. We're not rich, but just hanging out with your friends and it not being nothing petty and catty, it was fun. It was intimate. It was intimacy amongst friends, and it was a great time. Some of the best memories of my life and a lot of our lives. And of that group, many of us are still good friends to this day, and it's just great memories that we all hold on to. And some of us are married, and some of us aren't married. I'm one of the non-married, but a few are married, a few aren't. But when we all get together, we can have these conversations and laugh, even amongst their spouses. We're not going to live a life like we're perfect soldiers here. But let me get back. Let me not travel too far off into my stories. Let me get back. So that's it. I am trying to expand my pleasure. And that is going to be through bondage. That is going to be through clothing. And what toys do I want to invest in next? I have collars and cuffs, rope, pinwheels. I have a gamut of things. Suction cups, big breast suction cups. I have nipple suction cup, nipple clamps, all those kind of things. I have all the standard toys that you would have if you're into kink. And it's fun. It's really fun. And again, guys, don't think of these things as like, oh man, I'm not gonna get no toys. I don't want to do that stuff, man. This stuff kind of weird. That stuff gay. Yeah. We have to get out of that. We have to get out of there, guys, because when your sex life flatlines or when it's become routine, what we think as men is, well, we need the next thrill instead of digging in more into who you're with, which means you have to get into a greater intimacy, which means you as a man have to open up a little bit more to your intimacy. And how about this? Not necessarily open up more about your intimacy. How about you might be very vanilla with intimacy, right? So it's okay to say to a woman that, let's explore some things. What do you think? What do I think? You at least got to come with one idea. You have to always be the orchestrator of this lane. So you can say, I was thinking about getting a paddle and seeing what that's like. And then see what she thinks about that. See what she might be sexually explorative to do. This is how you do it, but always be in control. Overall, that is a theme of mine for my resolution going into next year, is to have a greater control of myself, of my situations, and how those are playing out. And now it's not to be a control freak, right? But it's to kind of dial back a little bit of myself. Because sometimes I can be a little too open if I can. And when I mean open, let's say I could be a little bit too negotiable in some situations. And now it doesn't mean I just have to be a little bit more reserved, and I just have to be a little bit more intentional and understanding that if people are going to deal with me, they have to deal with me in a certain kind of way. And there are avenues that I open up to people that I have to close. And this is not just specifically with lovers, this is with friends, this is with families. There's certain things that you allow people, and in turn, sometimes they take advantage of some good natured situations because they know you can stand it. And so just working on that. And also, that helps me get better in relationships, and especially relationships with the opposite sex, and definitely someone that I am having a physical relationship with. Just being more on the ready line, but also being quiet on that ready line, being more reserved, speaking more from my tone and my actions than just having too much conversation. Like, I need to have less conversation. That's part of my thing. And I know that's going to lead to a greater interest and a greater intimacy for me and in my life. But what do you guys think? That is my sexual resolution. What's yours? What is yours? Once again, Happy New Year 2026 to all. And I look forward to talking more of my ish with you guys on my friend the Curious Girls platform, and also on my platform. Come check me out, Sir Inq, the experience, on all platforms. And until next time, peace. What's good, everybody? It's that time of the show, and you can find me on all podcast platforms on Sir Inq, the experience. Okay? Sir Inq, the experience podcast on all podcast platforms. Thank you for listening, and until next time.